This is the defendant, Tom Lawson. He was taking care of his dog and to a parking meter.
No way!
Oh my God. The guy refuses to send him to the hospital. He's proving his claim.
Oh, this is too much.
The guy's trying to help save him. He's accused of causing a guy a lot of pain.
It looks fucking amazing.
All parties please raise
It
your
looks
This is fucking too much, man.
That I might be able to see?
I don't know if there's a scar.
Okay.
Let's see.
Do you have anything from the doctor saying how deep the puncture, how wide the puncture, how, you know, because here's the thing, you're asking for $4 grand in pain and suffering. That's a pretty healthy chunk.
Fleming says he was minding his own business, walking down the street, when the defendant's dog, which was tied to a parking meter, took a chunk out of him. The defendant says the whole thing is a scam. It's the case of the meter eater.
Douglas, okay. Mark Zarowin, you are suing Tom Lawson for $5,000, a statutory maximum in your state, because his dog bit him, correct?
That's
Tell me
right.
what happened.
I was walking to meet some friends, and suddenly, out of nowhere, Mr. Lawson's dog leaped out and bit me. He was tied to a parking meter. I then learned that the dog had bitten 2 people before me in about a 10-minute period. After the dog bit me, the dog swung around to get another bite out of my leg. And I managed, because I had been walking and at the time was then turning to avoid the dog, which is a kind of natural reaction, I tripped over the dog. And my coffee mug that I had been holding was flying, and I slammed to the ground and hit my knee and then my arm and injured my shoulder.
Okay. And you, according to you, you learned that from whom that it had bit 2 other people.
Well, it turned out that one of the 2 people that had been, at least one of the 2 people who had been bitten before me was standing on the sidewalk, a short, maybe a few feet away, with his pants leg up, with blood dripping off his leg.
And you hadn't seen him beforehand?
No.
Had you seen the dog beforehand?
No.
Was the dog barking?
No.
So you walk by and all of a sudden the dog bites you?
He leaped. He leaped.
Okay, and then what happened?
The woman who was babysitting the dog then came out of the video store where she had been, and she was obviously, there was some connection between her and the dog. And then she told me that in fact...
Did you go to the hospital? What happened to you?
No, I went to see my friends and I washed my leg as much as I could. I'd never been
You went
bitten.
to see your friends, meaning the place you were destined to go?
Right.
Okay.
I'd never been bitten by a dog, so I didn't think that much about it.
Well, tell me about the dog bite. Did it puncture you?
Yes, there were 3 puncture marks in my leg.
Okay. Did you
plus
have
the-
stitches?
No.
Okay. Did you ever go to the doctor?
I went to the doctor on Tuesday.
Okay. The bite was when?
On Friday.
Okay. When you go to the doctor, what did the doctor do or say? Or
The doctor looked at the bite marks and said that the best thing to do, well, the only thing to do would be to take a course of antibiotic.
Okay. Do you have the doctor's bill?
Yes. Well, I actually don't have the doctor's bill. I have an explanation of benefits for it.
You don't have the doctor's bill?
No, they don't send bills anymore.
Of course you can get a bill for court. That's ridiculous. How do you think the insurance comes up with an explanation of benefits? Because they send the bill to the insurance company.
Right, but they don't.
Do you have any scars on your leg that I might be able to see?
Gee, I don't know if there's a scar.
Okay.
Let's see. I don't
Do you
think
have
there
anything
is.
from the doctor saying how deep the puncture, how wide the puncture, how, you know, because here's the thing, you're asking for $4 grand in pain and suffering. That's a pretty chunk. I know that, I don't know whether you have $4 grand in pain and suffering or whether you're just trying to get to the statutory maximum, but it's important to me to see medical records that would show me just how bad this was that would merit $4 grand. Where were you when this was happening?
I was at work, Your Honor.
Okay, and who was the person who was walking your dog?
Martine Boyer.
Is that a friend of yours, a girlfriend?
Yeah, it's a friend, just as simple as
Okay.
friend. I stayed with her for the first month that I moved down here.
Okay, what kind of dog is that?
The Boston Terrier.
All right. And what did she tell you had happened? She's not here. Why isn't she here?
She had an emergency work situation. She
Okay,
tried to get
what did she tell you? Well, she didn't see it either, I guess. But what did she tell you had happened?
I got a phone call from her saying that she was in a store and that she came out and there was a group of people around Rocco and that supposedly he had bit 3 people, and was it all right if she gave them my numbers?
Okay.
To which I said, yeah, that's fine.
Well, that's
of
good.
course.
Yeah. Give him a fake name and number.
Yeah.
And she walks off and then nobody's here. Okay, well, that was good and honest of you. It's good to see that. All right, and then what happened?
And then I received a call from one gentleman a little afternoon that said he was going to go to the doctor and get a tetanus shot, and would it be all right if he sent me the bill for the tetanus shot?
And how much was the tetanus shot?
I never received the bill for the
He
tetanus
never even
shot.
sent
No.
it. How about the next guy?
The next guy never heard anything from at all.
Okay,
Never
and then
heard
you got
at all.
a $5,000 lawsuit from this.
I got a call from Mr. Zerowin, yes, and we started talking and started explaining to me what was going on. He explained about the mug and his jeans, and I said, I'm sorry all this happened. I wasn't there, but I'd be happy to help out with anything. If you want to send me some bills, so I can see some bills, we'll go from there.
Okay.
And then he started talking about that he re-aggravated a shoulder injury, and that was going to have to be that he was going to have therapy on that. And he thought
Okay, but wait a
probably
minute.
should see,
You're suing for $97 for one doctor's appointment about prescribing antibiotics. What about this shoulder thing?
The shoulder thing has been treated by my yoga teacher.
Your yoga teacher. Is there a medical doctor who said you re-aggravated your shoulder?
No, my yoga teacher could tell, and I could tell, but because my range of
You're
motion.
suing for $800 for yoga appointments?
That's right. 8 private yoga lessons.
Let me see what you have to buttress that claim that that's as a result of the dog bite. Were you taking yoga before before the dog bite?
Yes, I started practicing yoga about a
You
year
were taking
ago.
$100 yoga classes before the dog bite?
Yes.
And then you continue to take $100 yoga classes after, but he needs to pay for that? I mean, look, obviously, I want to know, has your dog ever shown this tendency?
He bit people before twice, only when they tried to pick him up, but never on the street,
But you
never
know what,
on.
can I just tell you something?
Yeah.
I mean, I know that everyone loves their dog like their people, and I'm sure my children annoy you, okay?
Yeah.
But they're not humans, and you can't, when you guys, and I have to tell you, because I have a child who's definitely afraid of dogs, and you know, she's getting better little by little, but it doesn't help me when you folks tie up your dog to, you know, the thing, and then go in to have a latte or whatever it is.
Absolutely.
I know you're not the guy who did it, but you know, you gotta make sure nobody else does this.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah, Judge, I totally agree with you. I agree. And so what I said to Mr. Zerowin was I'd be happy to help fight if there's some proof. Because it started to get to the point where it was on the phone, he was adding these things up. And I was like, this guy's seeing dollar signs right now.
All right, now your witness has apparently come, because my staff is telling me,
Oh, is that
the
right?
court staff is saying that she has shown up. So do you want to bring her in?
That's great.
You afraid of the dog? She's happy to see you.
The meter was running. The plaintiff should have done the same. Will he get $5 grand? Judge Millian rules next.
Great, baby.
I made it. I'm going to Disney World. This might be able to say I knew
We know.
People's Court.
Virtually every
That's all I remember now.
Of yoga lessons as part of his recovery for the dog bite. What do you think?
If he was already taking yoga, he's just trying to get over it.
What do you think? I mean, he's saying, you know, zing.
I think maybe a certain amount of yoga lessons, yes. If that's what helps him heal, then yes.
Hey, if shopping helps you heal, can you get the money for shopping?
Yes.
Absolutely. You said no about yoga, but you're all about the shopping. Okay, going inside the courtroom.
Okay, what's your name?
Martine Boyer.
So go ahead, what happened?
Well, I was in the video store and I tied up Rocco outside. And I was in for a couple of minutes and I heard someone say, oh, there's somebody in the video store. I was saying, there's somebody's dog bite who just bit someone out there. So I immediately went outside, dropped the video, ran outside, and actually right before I stepped, as I was walking towards the front door, it's a glass door, I saw this gentleman trip over his leash, and someone was helping him up, and there was him and two other gentlemen, and they said, well, whose dog is this? This is my dog, you know, whatever. And they asked me for my information, and that was basically it. We exchanged information, I gave them my number, gave them my address, and I said, you know, we'll be happy to.
What did he tell you on the scene?
He just said, it was basically like, oh my God, you know, he just kind of like, all of a sudden he was here, and there was somebody, the person.
Did he say he bit me?
Did he say he bit him?
Yeah.
No, he said he made me trip. And I spilled my coffee, and the coffee was spilled. And the coffee was spilled.
Was the coffee mug dented?
It was a Starbucks coffee cup.
A Starbucks
carton.
paper carton coffee cup?
Yeah.
He's
it had
charging
spilled
$40 for a
over.
coffee mug that he says got dented in the trip.
It was a Starbucks.
You're positive it was the paper
I'm fairly
white
sure it was
cup.
like a white cup.
Okay.
Because I came out, and as I said, he was tripping over, and he was kind of going like this.
Do you
and
have
the
the
cup
mug
was-
that got dented?
No, I threw it away. It's not.
Because it was
Do you have the
paper.
jeans that got ripped?
I threw them away as well.
Okay, go on.
He mentioned something, because I know at one point I said, well, we'll need to, because he told me about a doctor or something. And I said, well, we'll need to see, I said, I'm sure Tom, you know, and will be more than
Okay,
accommodating.
let's see the bills, Mr. Zarrowen. Let's see the bills you have to justify what, we already know you don't have any evidence of ripped jeans or evidence of a broken coffee mug because you didn't keep them, you didn't take pictures of them before you tossed them. And according to you, you didn't see any ripped jeans, you didn't point out any ripped jeans, and he had a Starbucks mug. Okay.
Your Honor, I did actually point out to her that my jeans were ripped from the fall and from the dog bite.
I have a question for you. If you're planning from the get-go to collect on what your damages are, which is fine and your legal right, why wouldn't you then keep the proof? If from the get-go he's telling you, send me the proof, send me bills, send me the proof, why wouldn't you keep the proof of the thing that was ripped? I mean, that happens every day in court.
Yes.
People keep the proof. It's not, or take a picture of it and then discard it because I don't feel like storing it, but they take a picture of it, something.
In civil society, most people, in most instances, I believe that people work these things out without going to court.
That is correct.
And
And you
I am
know
a
what?
trusting
This one would have
person.
been worked out too, because let me tell you what happened, because you may be in the court, but I'm not. You want to know what could have very easily happened on that side? Yeah, tell them my name is Joe Smith, and my number is 664, you understand? You had no way of knowing whether that was really him. The police weren't called, nobody took her license, nobody would have had any way of knowing if that was really him. But he's an honest man, and he felt bad about what happened, so he gave everybody his phone number. Everybody else said that, I'll send you the tetanus shot. I forget it, I guess insurance company. The other one didn't even call him. You come up with a $5,000 lawsuit. I know something happened out there for sure. I know your church says your trip, okay? And that's worth something, but you gotta sort of prove what it's worth. You've got one doctor's appointment for $97. You have a Dwayne Reed receipt for an antibiotic.
For $5.
Then you've got a receipt. It's not really, it's just a letter with a handwriting that says for services rendered yoga lessons.
For 8 weeks following the injury.
Yeah, I understand that, but for you to be able to collect $800 for yoga that you were already doing, you would have to show that somehow that was medically necessary, not yogi necessary, medically necessary. You don't even show it's yogi necessary. There's nothing from the yogi saying this is necessary. Not that I would take that as medical proof in a court of law, but there's not even that. There's certainly not any note from a doctor saying he's re-aggravated a shoulder injury or any of this other stuff. There's nothing. You got nothing.
Your Honor, if I had tried to lift my arm, in fact, right now, look how high I can lift this left arm.
I am going to award you what you've been able to prove, which is a doctor's visit and antibiotics. Okay? I'm going to award you $102, which I'm sure you would have happily paid in a civilized society if somebody had been civilized and sent you a bill for something that was reasonable. You are not going to get your yoga appointments, and you are not going to get $4 grand in pain and suffering, nor jeans and a coffee mug that you have been wholly unable to prove were ruined. Okay? That is my verdict.
Well, he sued for $5,000, and here comes the plaintiff who got $100 and a couple of dollars. What's your reaction to the verdict?
I'm sorry that it went that way. I think that
You're sorry that you took it this far and didn't.
I'm sorry that it ended up even having to go this far. If the fellow had called me back, it would have been worked out. It shouldn't have come.
If you had worked it out with him, you probably would have gotten more money than you got in court.
I would have worked it out with him if he'd called me back. He never called me back.
He doesn't use his phone.
It's
Too bad.
yeah.
Head right down that way and. All right, so come on in here. Am I safe in the hallway here with Rocco here?
Yes.
All right, good. How about this verdict and how about?
I thought the judge was very wise and fair. The decision that we came to, Mark and I, was that he was going to send me any bills. He didn't send me any bills. First thing I got was a summons to People's Court. So he saw dollar signs and he didn't get it.
If I tried to at Rocco right now, hello, would that be a bad idea?
No.
Okay. Can I just? Is your shirts all right? Well, he's hiding. I don't want to bother him. Okay. You do it though. Over to Harvey.
Okay, Kurt, if you are suing for damaged items like clothing or anything like that in connection, say, with a dog bite, you have to keep the items. If you don't keep the items in question, you almost never will get the cost of those goods because it's just going to look like a scam. And we'll do it for this case. Litigants, for the next case on the way to the courtroom, right now.
Wow.
Lester Clark.